Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Torie and Ren YouTube channel. Today's video is a very exciting one. We will be sewing the Woodland Wonders wristlet, which is a collaboration with Sweetfire Road for Moda Fabrics. It features Sweetfire Road's newest fabric collection, which is called Frivolity. So all of the quilting cotton you'll see in this video is from the collection. So I'll quickly show you the outside of the wristlets. So this one here has this floral print for the flap, paired with this green woodland fabric. Now all three samples on the bottom here and on the closure include Sally Tomato faux leather. This one here has the same floral print, but it's just a different part of it so that the bow was right on the front, and it matches very well with this mustardy print that is also part of the collection. This one here uses this gorgeous pink teacup fabric, and the pink in this fabric actually matches perfectly with the little pink flowers in this green floral. I'll also quickly show you the interior of one of the wristlets so you know how they open up. So I'll move these two out of the way. So each wristlet has this swivel hook and D-ring closure on the front, as well as a swivel hook and D-ring on the side here for you to hold your wristlet. If you unclip the wristlet here in the front, it's actually very easy to open and close. There is a magnetic snap under here that opens up to a small zipper pocket that's really great for change. You also have two additional larger zipper pockets here. You can put cash in them. They're also large enough to fit a passport, so you can take this wristlet traveling. Back here, you have an additional back pocket that's actually made using the flap back here. Then when you open up the magnetic snap here in the middle, you have your 8 card pockets. And I actually sewed a little design on my center leather panel here. I did some strawberries, some leaves, and mushrooms. So that's an idea of something you can always add to yours. And then it just closes back up. Close your snaps. And they close very easily. And just like that, your wristlet is all set to go. Just quickly, I also forgot to show the little zipper pulls I added to mine. So I have little strawberries on this one, some acorns on this one here, and on this last one, I just added some flowers to match the flowers right here. I also do want to quickly add that I will be giving away the wristlet that I sew in this tutorial to one of you. So if you'd like to enter to win the wristlet, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and comment down below. All of the comments will be entered and one will be randomly selected as the winner. You can see the caption for full details. If you'd like to make one of these wristlets, please see the caption for details on where to get the pattern, and let's get started with the tutorial. I have my pieces here all cut, so I'm going to quickly run through them and all the materials that you'll need. Beginning with print A, I'm going to be using the Blush Daisy Tea print from the collection. And from this print, you're going to need to cut one piece of piece A for the front flap. Now, if you're using directional fabric, you're going to want the top of the print to be over here and the bottom to be over here. And if you want to fussy cut your print so that a certain section of the design is visible on the front of the wristlet, this piece is going to be folded like so. So you're going to want to fussy cut it in this area of the piece. So the top half over here. For print B, there are two options. You can use either quilting cotton or you can use faux leather. I will first go through the faux leather pieces, then I will go through the quilting cotton pieces. You're going to cut one option, not both. So if you choose faux leather, do not cut the quilting cotton option and vice versa. Now, the reason I included a quilting cotton option for this is some machines will not be able to handle the thickness of the faux leather since there's going to be multiple layers of faux leather, quilting cotton, and interfacing. So you know your machine best and what it's capable of, so please decide accordingly. Beginning with the faux leather option, I'm going to be using the Sally Tomato Rugged Faux Leather in Cedar. You're going to need 2 pieces of piece B, which is for the wristlet base, which is at the bottom of the wristlet. Now, one of these pieces is going to be for the exterior, and one is going to be for the interior. So if you'd like to customize your wristlet and have 2 different ones inside and outside, that's completely up to you. You'll also need 1 piece of piece C for the D-ring tab at the side of the wristlet, 1 of piece E for the bottom D-ring closure, and 1 of piece D, which is the top swivel hook closure. For the quilting cotton option, you're going to need 2 pieces of piece B. This is for the wristlet base, similar to the faux leather version. And this is going to go at the bottom of your wristlet. One is for the exterior and one is for the interior. Now, if you're selecting the quilting cotton option, you're going to also need to cut 2 pieces of fusible fleece from piece B, and that's to interface these 2 pieces. So you're going to fuse the glue side of the fusible fleece to the wrong side of your fabric. That's because the quilting cotton, as you can see, is a lot thinner than the faux leather, so we need to interface them. Of print B for the quilting cotton option, you're also going to need 1 piece of piece F, and that's for our D-ring tab on the side of the wristlet. You're going to need 1 piece of piece H, and that's for the D-ring closure on the bottom of the wristlet. And then you're going to need 1 piece of piece G, and that's for the top swivel hook closure. So that's all for the quilting cotton option. You can resume cutting your pieces as normally for the following sections. For print C, I'm going to be using the Lichen and Moss fabric, I believe I'm saying that correctly, from the collection. And you're going to need 2 pieces of piece I. This is for the exterior body of the wristlet. So one of these pieces is going to have the change pocket when you open the wristlet, and the other one is going to go on the back. If you're using directional fabric, you're going to want the top here and the bottom here, so the direction to run vertically. You're then going to need 2 pieces of piece J. Now this is for the front and back of the slip pocket. So when you open the flap, it creates a slip pocket at the back of the wristlet. This is one of the pieces of the lining that's going to be visible in the pocket. And then the other one is actually going to be on the exterior side, so on the outside of the wristlet. So I have my 2 pieces here. And just like last time, the direction of the fabric should run vertically, just like that. You're next going to need 1 piece of piece K, and this is for our wristlet strap. And if you're using directional fabric, you're going to want it to run vertically like so. Finally, of print C, you're going to need 2 pieces of piece L, and these are our little zipper tabs on the 2 main pockets. Of print D, I'm using the Lichen and Hobnail Goblet print from the collection. That's what it's called. And I'm going to need 2 pieces of piece M. These are for the card pocket, so on the inside of the wristlet when it opens up. So I have my 2 pieces here. For directional fabric, you're going to want the print to run vertically like so. Moving on to print E, I'm using the Lichen and Watchful Eyes print from the collection. It's this adorable woodland print. And I'm going to cut 4 pieces of piece N. This is for the main zipper pocket lining. So there's going to be 2 pieces for one pocket and 2 pieces for the other. If you're using directional fabric, you're going to want the direction to run vertically like so. You will also need 1 piece of piece P and 1 of piece O, and these are for the front change pocket. It's the lining. If you're using directional fabric, you're going to want the direction to run vertically for both pieces. Moving on to fusible fleece, I'm going to be using Pellon 987F, but you can use a similar fusible fleece. You're going to need 1 piece of piece A for our front flap, 2 of piece I for the exterior body, 2 of piece J. This is again for the front and back of our slip pocket that attaches to our front flap. You're going to need 1 of piece Q, and that's to interface our wristlet strap. And you're going to need 12 squares for piece R, which is our snap reinforcement squares. Now, like I said earlier, if you're using quilting cotton for print B, you're also going to need 2 pieces of piece B, and you're going to interface piece B of quilting cottons. You're going to fuse them to the wrong side of these 2 pieces, but if you are using the faux leather option, you will not need to interface those pieces. Moving on to the cotton woven interfacing, I'm going to be using Callie Dell's lightweight fusible woven interfacing, but you can also use SF101. I just don't have any right now. I'm going to need 2 pieces of piece M and then 1 piece of piece I. For our zippers, we're going to be using size 5 continuous nylon zipper tape. Mine is a metal look-alike zipper from Sally Tomato with an antique finish. For your zippers, you're also going to need 3 zipper sliders or pulls. I have my 3 here. These 2 are for my main pockets, and this one is for my change pocket. Now for the main pockets, you can use any pull you wish. I'm using these flower pulls from Zipper Valley. But for the change pocket, you actually have to use a pull that's no wider than 1/2 inch. Because of the method we're going to be using to install the zipper, it needs to be able to slide through an opening that's only 1/2 inch wide. And if you do any larger, you can risk tearing the opening. So you want to do one that looks something like this. Mine just says handmade. All 3 of my pulls still have their protective plastic on it. I sometimes like to keep that on until I'm done the project so they don't get damaged in any way. But these 3 are brushed antique from Zipper Valley. For hardware, you're going to need 2 sets of double cap rivets. If you're using faux leather for print B, you're going to need rivets with a 13mm post, just like these ones. But if you're using quilting cotton for print B, you can use rivets with an 8mm cap and post, because there's going to be a lot less thickness at the D-ring and swivel hook closure for the quilting cotton, so you don't need as long of a post. You will also need 2 3/4 inch swivel hooks. These are the 18mm flat hook profile ones from Emmeline Bags. And you'll need 2 3/4 inch D-rings. These are the ones that are 3.75mm thick. The last bit of hardware you'll need are 2 sets of magnetic snaps. These ones are 1/2 inch and they're by Sally Tomato. Some other supplies you will need to make this project include 1/4 inch double-sided basting tape, and this will be helpful during the change pocket section. You will need an erasable marking pen so that we can make markings throughout the project, and you will also need freight check. We're now going to fuse our fusible fleece to the corresponding fabric pieces. I'm going to set these ones aside momentarily. I'm going to begin with these ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to fuse the glue side of our fusible fleece. You can usually feel the glue, it has a texture. You're going to fuse that side to the wrong side of your fabric. So we're going to align it nicely and then press on this side so that the layers bond together. So we're going to do that for piece A, the 2 piece J, the 2 piece I forgot the paper. And then if you used quilting cotton for print B, you're going to do it to your 2 piece B as well. Now we're going to do something different for pieces K and Q. So you're going to grab piece K and you're going to flip it over to the wrong side. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to center piece Q with piece K. So you're going to want the glue side again facing the wrong side of piece K, just like that. We're going to center it as best we can, and then we're going to fuse it like that. And that's so that our fusible fleece doesn't end up in our seam allowance over here and over here. So I'm going to go ahead and fuse all these pieces together. I've just brought my iron here to the table to give you a quick fusing demo. So I have one of my piece J's here. I have the glue side of my fusible fleece facing the wrong side of my fabric, making sure it's nice and aligned. And what I like to do is I just like to press my iron for a couple seconds in one spot. I lift, move it, and then I go all the way along until the fabric is fused to the fusible fleece. I tend to not go in a back and forth motion. I tend to actually just press in one spot and then move it after a couple seconds, just until my piece is fused. And I think it should be all ready. Oh, I can see here it needs a little bit more of a heat right over here. Okay, and that should be good. So you can see here that my fabric and my fusible fleece are fused together. Next, for woven interfacing, you're going to get one of your piece I that already has fusible fleece, and then the interfacing piece, and then your 2 piece M, and we're going to repeat the same thing. So I'm going to get one of these. I'm going to put it with the glue side facing up. I'm going to grab one of my quilting cotton pieces here. I'm going to line it up with the wrong side of the fabric facing the glue. And then I'm going to press it to fuse them together. I'm going to do it to these two. And then what's different about piece I is we're actually going to be fusing the glue side of our interfacing to the fusible fleece. So we're going to line it up and then we're going to press it. And if it doesn't press well from this side, you're more than welcome to flip it over and press on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm back from the iron, and this is the piece I that has the fusible fleece and the woven interfacing, so it looks something like this. This piece from here on out will now be called piece IA and is referenced as piece IA in the pattern. We're now going to begin working on our change pocket. So I have piece IA, that same piece I just mentioned, my ruler and an erasable marking pen. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this change pocket opening on the wrong side of our fabric, 1.25 inches down from the top edge. You can find the full measurements of the opening in your pattern above figure 1 on page 10. I've gone ahead and drawn my lines on the wrong side using an erasable marking pen. So now it looks like the pocket anatomy diagram here. So you have your pocket outline, which is your seam allowance line. You have your outer triangles like that, and then you have your center division line that goes right across. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut along our outer triangles. So here and here, and then from point to point of our triangles, which is the center division line. We are not going to cut the pocket outline, which goes all the way around, only the triangles and then point to point. And do not cut too far past this corner. Please be very precise when cutting. Cut right to this corner, but not past it. So I've just cut along my center division line in my outer triangles. It should look something like that. I then applied some fray check along all of the areas I cut to prevent some fraying, and I did that also on the right side. And mine's just drying. You can see here isn't dry, but here's drying already. And I just fray checked really close to that edge. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go on the wrong side. We're going to fold our piece in half, just like so. And then we're going to mark the center of that center division line. So that's the middle right there. Okay, and that'll help us center our zipper afterwards. We're now going to grab our 7-inch zipper, our ruler, and our marking pen, and we're going to draw some markings on our zipper. So I already have some on mine, but the first ones you're going to do is you're going to draw a line just under 7/8 in from the edge here. So there's one of my lines. And then over here, I drew mine off camera because it's really hard to measure with the camera right here. I can't really see properly. So I did mine off camera, but you're going to draw one line there and turn to this side, measure, and draw the other line here. Again, just under 7/8, not 7/8. So it has to be quite close to the edge. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fold your zipper in half. We're going to bring the ends together as best as we can. And then we're going to mark the middle of the zipper on both sides. Now the reason we're marking the middle here is so we can center it with that center division line that we just marked the middle of as well. My pen isn't marking. Okay, so that's the middle on both sides. My zipper is all marked, and the fray check is actually dry now at my pocket opening, so it looks like that. Now, before we get to installing our zipper, I wanted to explain the method we're going to be using because it is an untraditional one. If you prefer to use a method you're more comfortable with, you are more than welcome to do so. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening our zipper. So I'm going to divide the tape in half. And what's going to happen is each half of the tape is going to be installed on each side of the center division line. So this first half is going to be flipped upside down like this. The teeth, as you can see, point down, and it's going to be installed here below the bottom of the center division line. And then this half is going to be installed above it. So you can see here that the tape on both halves of the zipper point in opposite directions. Let me hold this down better. So you can see the teeth points out and the right side of the teeth face the fabric. Now once this is sewn, this is going to actually bend like that, and then the teeth end up in the right location. Same thing with this side. Once it's sewn, it's going to end up like this. Okay, so both of our tape is going to be installed like this, and then if we flip to the wrong side, you're going to see here that we're actually going to be aligning the tape with the center point here, so it's going to be centered there. And then we're going to have the edge of the center division line aligned with that line we drew on the zipper tape. Okay, like that all the way along. So that's going to help us ensure that we're sewing in the right spot when we sew along this line. We will also be adding lining to our change pocket, but that will be done as we add each half of our zipper to our pocket opening here. So when we add this half, then we'll attach the corresponding lining. When we attach this one, we'll add the remaining half of the lining. But let's now begin installing our zipper. So what we're first going to do is we're going to flip over to the wrong side of piece IA where we have our pocket marked. We're going to get our two halves of our zipper tape and we're going to align them centered with our pocket opening with our center division line. So there's that and there's that. They're both centered. Then what you're going to do is you're going to grab an erasable marking pen, and on the end of the zipper, you're going to mark where the pocket starts and where it ends. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we're going to be using double-sided tape to help us stick our zipper to the right side of our fabric before sewing, and we only want the double-sided tape to be stuck where the pocket opening is. We don't want it to extend beyond the pocket opening. So if we mark it here and here, we know to only add double-sided tape from here to here, and it won't go beyond that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set one half aside for now. We're going to leave one here, and then we're going to add our double-sided tape, just as I said, from here to over here. Now that that's attached, I'm going to peel the paper backing. And because the tape is clear, you should still be able to see your line beneath it, stuck to my finger. We're now going to take this half and we're going to install it below the center division line. So what helps is if you flip to the right side, you can actually put your zipper where you need it to be. So again, this bottom half has to have the teeth pointing down and the right side of the tape has to face the right side of the fabric. So we'll have it already on this side. Then we're going to flip over to the wrong side, and then we can better align it and adjust it so that it's centered here with our center division line there, and then stick it along that line. So if you can see, I have my line there. I'm going to align the edge of that center division line with that line. Okay, that's one side, and then I'm going to do it all the way down on this side. Okay, and once that's stuck, you're just going to go ahead and sew from this corner to this corner along this line right here. And what always helps me when I sew these kinds of pockets is using a zipper foot, because it allows me to get really close to the teeth that are actually just under here. Once you've sewn that bottom half on, it should look something like that attached. Then what you're going to do is on the right side, you're going to grab piece P, or the change pocket lining bottom piece, and we're going to put it with right sides facing the zipper. So we're going to align it with the zipper. And if you're using directional fabric like I am, I'm going to attach the top of the print here. We're going to align it with the edge of our zipper. We're going to grab some quilting clips and we're just going to clip it in place just like that. And then we're actually going to tuck our clips in through the center division line just like that, so they're on the other side because that's where we're going to be sewing, and we're just going to sew in line with the same seam we just sewed, and that will attach this half of the lining to that half of the zipper. The lining is now attached, so it should look something like that. We're now going to add the second half of our zipper tape. So we're going to get that remaining half and our double-sided tape, and we're going to repeat the same process by adding double-sided tape in between here and here. Now that it's stuck, I'm just going to remove that paper backing again, and again, that line should be visible underneath the tape. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat the same process on the right side over here. And I actually forgot to mention, you can actually go ahead and remove that double-sided basting tape that's going to be in here. But make sure to do it very gently so that you don't fray any of your fabric. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip to this side. We're going to grab our zipper, and this time our teeth are going to go this way. So your zipper will look something like this. So right side facing the fabric, and the edge of the zipper is going to be with the center division line here. We're going to flip over. We're going to use our markings yet again. So we're going to center our zipper tape here. And then we're going to stick the center division line along our marked line on our zipper tape. So I've gone ahead and adjusted my zipper. It's centered over here, and then the center division line is just stuck along that marked line on my zipper, and it'll look something like this on the right side. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and, just like last time, you're going to sew along this line from corner to corner, and don't go beyond the corner. I'm back from sewing the top half of the zipper tape on. We're now going to repeat the same thing with our lining piece as we did before. So we're going to flip over to this side. We're going to align the top edge of the print with the edge of our zipper tape here. So I'm going to align it with my zipper tape. I'm going to get some quilting clips. Just like so. So the top edge, you can see, is aligned with my zipper tape with the right side facing, and that's the top of my design. Then what you're going to do, just like last time, is we're going to tuck our quilting clips into the wrong side, flip it back over so it'll look something like that, and then you're going to sew along the same seam you just sewed from corner to corner to attach the lining to that half of the zipper. I've just attached that second piece of lining, so yours should look something like this as well. I'm now going to remove that second piece of basting tape from in here. So I'm just going to gently pull on it, oops, not the fabric, and just gently remove it. We're now going to remain on the right side, and what we're going to do is we're going to tuck our lining and our zipper tape from the right side toward the wrong side through that opening. So I'm going to tuck my tape in at the ends as well. And I'm going to repeat on this one, pushing it through, tucking in that zipper tape to this side. Okay, so it should look something like that right now. Then on the right side, we actually want to push those outer triangles up, just like so. And we're now going to go ahead and press our fabric away from the zipper right here and right over here. I'm back from the iron, and I've just pressed the lining away from the zipper on both sides. We're now going to flip over to the right side, and we're going to insert our zipper pull. Now at this stage, it matters which side we insert the zipper pull from. If we want our zippers to open this way, we're going to insert our slider from this side. If we want it to open this way, we're going to insert it from this side. Now it matters to determine that now because we want all three of our zippers to match, so we need to decide that now. I want my zippers to open this way, so I'm going to insert my pull from this side. I'm going to grab that pull that's less than 1/2 inch in width, like I mentioned earlier in the materials section. We're going to bring our lining back just so that our tape is exposed. And if your tape isn't even, you can go ahead and trim it so it's even. It'll make it a little bit easier. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add an equal amount of tape into each side of the slider window. So as you can see here, right across, my tape is even. I'm going to press a little bit, and then right up here you can actually see if you have an even amount of tape, and I do. So I'm just going to gently push mine through. Now when your zipper approaches the opening here, we want to make sure that we don't snag the triangles, which is why we have them pointing up. You also want to make sure that this is back, and we're just going to gradually slide our pull through slowly, okay? So we don't tear anything. So very slowly sliding our zipper pull through, just like that. And then on the other end, you're going to slide it all the way through and off the tape as well. I'm going to lift my triangle so I don't snag it. And then I'm going to keep pushing it through just very gently because I obviously don't want to rip anything after having sewed all of that. So there's my slider. Everything is intact on this side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat the same thing. So we're going to insert our pull from this side, and then we're going to leave it in the middle. We're not going to pull it all the way through. Now, the reason we did that was because we wanted our tape closed on both sides. It makes it easier to finish the pocket and to also do our top stitching around. So I'm going to open this end, and I'm going to reinsert my zipper pull. I'm going to isolate the tape. So just the tape. Grab that same slider. Equal amount of tape into each side of the slider window, just like that. Push it through, and then gently guide it through this opening here. There we go. The slider part wanted to be a little tricky there. But that's what mine looks like here. I have my pull in the middle and my tape is closed on both sides. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tuck our triangles through toward the zipper. We're going to make sure everything is together. It's one side. This is the other side. And then we're going to slide the exterior over like this. We're going to make sure our lining is perfectly flat underneath. And then we're going to sew across the base of the triangle here from end to end. Okay, and you can back stitch if you, well, you should back stitch. And then you're going to repeat the same thing on this side, sewing across, back stitching. Now this seam is going to be visible inside your pocket, so you want to use a bobbin color that matches your zipper tape. And again, make sure your lining is nice and flat right here so that it doesn't get sewn up. It gets sewn correctly, nice and flat. I've just sewn the corners, so my pocket looks like this. This is what the corners look like on each side, and then this is it on the lining side. We're now going to flip over to the right side, and we're going to keep our lining flat underneath. And then we're going to sew a top stitch all the way around the pocket opening. And this is going to catch our lining, so it's going to be visible inside the pocket. So you want to make sure to select a bobbin thread that matches your lining fabric. I've just now finished my top stitching and it looks something like that on the right side, and this is the lining. Then what you're going to do is you're actually going to slide your zipper pull all the way to the end. I did move my slider while I was sewing just so that it was easier to top stitch, but your pocket is done, so you can close your zipper slider. Then what you're going to do is you're going to flip over to this side, and we're going to bring the larger lining piece, piece O, down here, just like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to close the sides and the bottom. So to close the sides, we're going to move the exterior out of the way. We're going to sew down the sides very close to the zipper, making sure to backstitch on the tape. Okay, we're going to use about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 depending on how much material you have on yours on the side. On the bottom, you can use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to do the same thing over here. Line it up, and then 5/8 or 1/2 inch on the side here, making sure to backstitch. And if you'd like, you can actually sew a second seam across the bottom, and that's because this is a change pocket, so it's going to hold a lot of weight from the change. So if you want it to be extra sturdy, you can actually do a second seam across the bottom, because that's where all the change is going to sit, and it's going to put the most pressure on that seam. I'm going to go ahead and close my pocket now. The lining of my change pocket is now closed, so yours should look something like this as well, and I did that double seam across the bottom. And then what's great about this method is your zipper is actually completely sewn in, so you see the top stitching on both sides. There's no raw edges anywhere in this zipper pocket, so it's completely finished, and the direction of your lining fabric is also correct on both pieces. So that's my zipper pocket. We're now going to go ahead and attach one of the piece B to this piece here. I've grabbed my piece B, so this is the quilting cotton version and this is the faux leather version. I'm going to be using the faux leather version, but you're going to repeat whatever I do with this piece with that piece if you're using quilting cotton. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our bottom edge here, piece IA. We're going to move our lining out of the way because we don't want to sew it down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put right sides facing, and then we're going to sew across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So right across there. If you're using quilting cotton, you're going to do the same thing, right sides facing, sew across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and it'll look like that. I've attached my piece B to my piece IA, and then I'm just going to open it up like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch along piece B down here. And when you're top stitching, you can either have the seam pressed to one side, so press to the piece B side, or open. But if you are pressing your seam open, you're going to have to do a finger press because you don't want to put the faux leather under the iron because it will melt and get damaged. So you don't want to press that with the iron. A little trick that I have with pressing my seams open, because I actually like to press them open when I do top stitching to reduce some of the bulk on the side here, like under here, is I get a piece of SF 101, little strip about 1.5 inches wide, and then I put it on top, and then I press it open under the SF 101, and then the SF 101 actually holds it open. I find faux leather doesn't really like to stay in place, so as I do that, it'll actually not only reinforce my seam because I have an extra bit of stable or interfacing on the back, but it'll also keep it open and flat So when I top stitch on this side, everything is nice and flat beneath, and I can just do a smooth top stitching with the bulk reduced over here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to press my SF101, and then I'm going to sew my top stitch along here. I just did my top stitching along piece B, and this is what it looks like on the back. I just added that woven interfacing along there. I did add it a little bit wonky, but that's okay. Now we're going to set this piece aside, and we're going to work on our closures. Beginning with the faux leather closures, I'm going to show these ones first, and then I'll show you the quilting cotton closures. We're going to grab pieces C, E, and D. I'm going to show you what to do with piece E, and then you're going to repeat with pieces C and D. So on the wrong side, what you're going to do is on the 1 3/4 inch sides, you're going to mark a line through the middle. Then you're going to grab your double-sided basting tape, and you're going to apply a strip of double-sided basting tape on both sides of the line. Okay, so I have double-sided basting tape on both sides of that line. I'm just going to peel off that paper backing, just like that. And then I'm going to bring the outer ends, I'm going to bring them into that center line on both sides, and I'm going to stick the wrong side, so the fleece back, to the double-sided tape. And that's just going to temporarily hold it in place so that I can sew it after. And then I'm going to bring this side to meet in the middle. So those edges should meet there in the middle, pressing on that tape. And if you find your double-sided basting tape isn't strong enough to hold this, you can also use quilting clips to hold the ends. So it should look something like that. We're now going to sew a top stitch on both sides, so on this side and on this side, to secure those folds. Again, you're going to repeat with piece C. So I have the line on the 1 3/4 inch sides, basting tape, and then bring them into the middle. And then the same thing for piece D, bring them into the middle. And I'll be right back when all 3 of these are sewn. This is pieces C, D, and E all sewn. That's the right side, and then that's the other side with the raw edges in the middle. Now you can go ahead and remove your double-sided basting tape, or you can leave it. I tend to just leave mine. We're now going to work on the quilting cotton versions, and I'm going to go grab my iron. For our quilting cotton versions, for the closures, you're going to need your iron. I have pieces H, F, and G here with me. I'm going to show you what to do with piece H, and then you're going to repeat with F and G. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip our piece to the wrong side. We're going to fold our piece in half with wrong sides facing. We're going to bring those 4-inch edges together. For piece F, you're going to bring the 2-inch edges together, and for piece G, you're going to bring the 5-inch edges together. And what we're going to do is we're actually just going to press it so that we crease the middle fold, okay? And then we're going to open it up, and then we're going to bring the outer 4-inch edges back in to that creased middle. So on this side, I'm just going to press it. I'm going to press that outer fold. And then I'm going to repeat on this side. I'm going to bring that 4-inch edge to the middle to meet the other one. Grab my iron, and I'm going to press it. Just going to move it so it covers the whole thing. Okay, and once those outer folds are pressed, it should look something like that. You're then going to fold your piece in half one more time so that those raw edges are actually concealed in the middle here. Then I like to give it one last press in half. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sew a top stitch on both sides, so this side here and then this side here, to secure all those folds. You're going to start with the open side, and then you're going to do the folded side. And then again, you're going to repeat with that piece, piece F, and piece G. I'm going to go ahead and sew these, and I'll be right back. Here are pieces G, F, and H all sewn. That's what they look like. We're now going to set these aside, and we're going to work on our card pockets. We've now reached the end of part 1 of the Woodland Wonders sewing tutorial. You can find the next parts linked in the description box down below or on the Torie and Ren YouTube channel. I'll see you in the next video.